Hello again, everybody. My name is Pixel Rain, or Rain for short, and today we're just going to be doing a short video where we set our voxels back to using bytes instead of 3 integers, I think is what we were up to. We'll also be fixing the issues that were present with the terrain manipulation, namely the seams and chunks not being regenerated when they're modified. But before we get into that, I just wanted to say that we've officially broken 100 subscribers, and that's awesome. I didn't think we would get here this quickly. So thank you everybody for making that happen. And on a less exciting note, the release schedule for this series will likely be changing after this video, as there's a lot going on in my life right now that's taken quite a bit of time away from the time I use to make these videos. I have no intention of stopping the series, and I still plan on starting another series or two to go along the side of this video, but for the moment the releases will be more along the lines of when I have time to actually work on them and get them edited and released to you guys. Now with all that said, let's get into it. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to make a new compute shader because we're in the editor, and this is just going to be called Voxel. And then we'll actually not go directly into that, just to throw you guys off a little bit here. We're going to go into our voxel.cs and replace the entire contents with this. So the only actual value inside of our voxel struct now is voxel data, and there's several accessors in here, one for an ID, one for an active value, and one for terrain height, which I'm hoping to use when I get to smoothing out our contouring here in the future. And basically the way this works is there's two functions that accompany the accessors, and both of them take in a component which tells us how far we need to shift that byte into our overall integer, and then we shift the value in, much like you've seen in the voxel details system. And the same is true for get voxel data. It just goes the other direction instead of shifting it into the integer. And of course we still have our boolean for is solid. With that complete, we'll go ahead and fill in our voxel compute that we just made. This is just going to replace having, that should be, all we're pretty much doing is replacing our voxel data that's usually inside of the shaders with this script, because it's nicer to have one script with the functions, the declarations of the structs, and so on. It's pretty much the same thing that we had in the voxel CS class, or struct, where we've got our actual voxel struct here. We've moved voxel details, and get voxel data and update voxel data live in here now. And with that out of the way, we'll be moving over to our voxel compute file, where we'll be including our new voxel.compute file, and we'll remove voxel details and voxel. Should clear up immediately. Then we're going to go on down to line 61, where we have our is solid check, and we'll be replacing that with our get voxel data call. So again, we'll be passing in the component 0 for ID and the voxel data value, and then we just check if it doesn't equal 0, much like before. And then voxel is transparent will be the same thing, but we want to know if it is 240, which would be water for the moment. And then we'll move on down to our contouring here, and we're going to add a new int current cell ID equals, and I'm frankly too lazy to type this right now, so we'll just do that. And then we'll take current cell, drop it in here, and get rid of that. We're not trying to make this a boolean. Come down here and we'll add a int current cell ID where it's equal to our current cell's voxel data, same as before, and our adjacent root cell and adjacent cell ID down here will be replaced with the get voxel data functions. They do the same thing. And then we'll just go a little copy and paste happy here. We'll replace the adjacent cell ID and root cell ID with their integer counterparts, just so we aren't having to get voxel data constantly. And current cell ID, last but not least. And that'll do it for our changes in our calculate contour method. Then we'll move down, and it's going to be pretty much the same thing, where we take an integer block ID representing our voxel data, and then we're just going to find and replace block.id with block ID. So we've got 1 instance, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. Oh, sorry, 12, it missed the very first one. And that'll do it for our voxel compute. Now we'll move over to our height map noise compute file, and we'll do the same thing. We'll remove our struct voxel and include our voxel.compute file. And then we're going to go down to line 111 where we've got a nice error here. And that will become our get data check, our vox declaration down here will be replaced with just voxel data equals 0, and we'll have an integer for voxel ID. So we'll do the same find and replace here. Vox.id gets replaced with voxel ID. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 occurrences of that get replaced. And then right here, where we're checking if our position's height is greater than the terrain height, we're gonna need to add a update voxel data affecting component 0 with our voxel ID that we've chosen, which basically is just amounting to setting this block to water or air as necessary and updating our voxel's voxel data. And then we pass that back into our array as normal. Down here at the bottom, we do the same thing just to verify that the voxel being put into the array has the correct data in it. And last but not least for this file, empty voxel data needs added down here, like so. Now we'll be moving on over to our compute manager, where we're gonna go right up here to color F232, excuse me. And we're just gonna replace our little if component equals 0 with component equals 5, because when you're shifting in the shader for some reason as it travels between the vertices, the colors sometimes wash out and bleed into each other, and raising these initial values up a little bit more makes it less likely for that to happen. It shouldn't actually affect the overall color very much. So it should just help keep things a little bit nicer looking for you. And then all we're doing in here aside from that is changing our stride count for our noise buffer here to 4 from 12, and same thing in our mesh buffer. Now we'll be moving on to our active voxel manager class that we made in the last video. And we're basically going to be replacing our 0.15s in this class with 15. So do a nice Control H there as well. And then our can't update furthers, we're going to just replace with a flat active value equals 0. Right here, where we're assigning the newly spawned water and the following part of the formula, we'll remove can't update further and change the active value to 100. And down here, we've got a little bit of a casting problem, so just swap that around. I don't really enjoy that C# identifies bytes in that case as integers. It makes sense, you don't usually use bytes, but I don't want to have to cast a byte when those are both within byte range. And then we'll remove this Vox can't update further down here. It shouldn't have been doing anything to begin with. And that'll wrap up our active voxel manager. Now we'll head into our world manager class for another few changes. And we need to be about here. So we'll just change this check during our check active voxels loop, where we're checking if the water is run out of steam, essentially, to verifying that it's below 15. And then we'll move on down just a little ways to our active check down here. And all we're going to do here is just verify that the active value is greater than 15, as well as the ID being at least 240. Otherwise, we want to treat it as, for all intents and purposes, a standard block because it's no longer active water. And then the biggest issue with the terrain manipulator, which is what we're going to get into fixing now, is during this check down here in the can place within chunk, where we're, verifying that we can move the voxel into the chunk that it started the call from. We're not actually calling to regenerate the chunk itself here. So we'll just go ahead and add a check for if our active chunks contains this chunk position. If it does, we just go ahead and add it to be requeued and regenerated. Finally, we'll head over to our terrain interactor class, and there's only 2 or 3 small changes to make here. One is replacing this position during our for loops with the mod pause variable that we have right here. It wasn't rounding before, which was causing issues when setting specific voxels, because obviously our voxels are not stored at a Y of 10.3. But when you contour the terrain, it's going to be a little offset. And then we'll replace our voxel ID to place variable here with a byte value. And then our active value down here just needs to be replaced with a byte, which we will also have to cast the value of. It's so lovely. And then that should just about do it. Before I forget, that byte value for the active block should be 100 here, otherwise your water will not go anywhere when you start it. So now let's head into our game, and we should be able to see our changes. Well, we won't really see much of a difference, just visually speaking, but once this finishes generating, I can show you the performance we're getting now. We also got a little bit of an FPS increase just during the initial generation, which is always nice. So now that looks much better. This is what I was so excited about when I started implementing this originally, is the absolute speed that this just tears through terrain. As usual, we can also place our water, and once that finishes running, it won't update the water anymore, which saves us the FPS. It basically removes it from all the lists. And I want to show you one other thing here. We're gonna do block ID or voxel ID 1, and the speed that it actually continuously updates when you're adding terrain is, in my opinion, pretty insane. I don't know that I've ever had this kind of performance before, so I'm very excited for the results of this. It almost looks fake when it comes at you like that. And obviously, once we get some more work done on this, you'll be able to have some different shapes being made when you do this. But that is all I have for you guys in this video. But if you like the video and you want to see more videos like this, don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps out. And if you want to come hang out with us on Discord, there's a link to the channel in the video description. And if you really like this content, you can head over to my Patreon page. The link to that is also in the description. And thank you all again for helping me break through 100 subscribers. And I'll see you in the next video.